What is first fruits giving? What are we talking about? Let's go back to the beginning of the Bible and talk about the Israelites. They're the ones that gave their first fruits to the Lord. And it literally was fruit, like their first fruit off trees or vegetables and crops or flocks, sheep, goats, lambs. That was the first fruits that they were giving. It was literally those things. And it was a way of saying that God has blessed me in all of this. I'm going to give that first tenth, my best, back to God, because it was all his in the first place. The Old Testament and the New Testament both testify that in their teachings that the first fruits is something that we give unconditionally to sow a seed of faith and dedication to God in all areas of our life. So Luke 12 has an interesting set of verses about being ready and doing God's work until he returns, using what you have been gifted and blessed with for God's glory. You should read the whole thing. I'm going to read one part. Verse 41, Peter asked, "Lord, are you telling this parable to us or to everyone?" The Lord answered, "Who then is the faithful and wise manager, whom the master puts in charge of his servants to give them their food allowance at the proper time? It will be good for the servant whom the master finds doing so when he returns. Truly, I tell you, he will put him in charge of all possessions." Christians of the New Testament believe that everything we own, including monetary possessions, are God's. They're his. In that same passage, it later speaks of everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. And from the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. And if you live in the US, no matter what you think your situation is, you have been blessed. Much is required of those in this world that have been blessed. Matthew 25 speaks of this exact subject. It says, "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' The man with 2 bags of gold also came. 'Master,' he said, 'you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more.' His master replied, 'Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.' Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. 'Master,' he said, 'I knew you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you.' His master replied, 'You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed? Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth." This is intense on many levels. There's so much in this passage. This passage imparts that we should be very mindful and responsible for God's blessings in our life. What we do with God's gifts matters. This subject is about you and I understanding God's role in our life. Have we put him first? Getting back to first fruits giving. When you're giving first fruits to God through the church members are recognizing that all good things originated from God in the first place. Everything belongs to him. And it's important to remember that the Feast of First Fruits, it was established when the nation of Israel was still wandering. This is right after they'd been in slavery in Egypt And when they had very little, they got out and they were just traveling and following God's lead. It was observed in faith that he would direct and secure his people and eventually move them to the promised land. Now, you don't give after you get to the promised land, after you're blessed. That's when you can go above and beyond. And we're going to talk about that. That's offering. But the first fruits was established when they weren't sure what was to come. They wandered for 40 years. They knew the promised land was coming, but they didn't know when, they didn't know where, and they had to learn a lot more. They had to grow before they would enter the promised land. But the giving was established because they had been freed from slavery in Egypt. Our giving begins because we have been freed from something in this world and beyond this world. We have been freed from death. And now moving forward, we're going to put God first in everything, including when it comes to the blessings in our life. We want to immediately say, God, all of this is from you, and I'm going to start as a thankfulness by giving that first fruits back to you, saying, I can do nothing without you. We start with that first fruit as a message of no matter what life brings, good, bad, wandering through the desert, I give because I have been freed from something. Not because I have been given so much that now I'm going to give back a portion. We'll talk about that. It's the offering part. But the first fruit saying, because I am free, I'm putting you first at the beginning. We can move to the regular tithe that comes from regular giving in our life, that really comes from a regular income in our life. But the first fruits is saying, before all of that, God, you are first. In the next video, we'll talk about the tithe. And if you'd like to hear or see that video, make sure you hit that subscribe button on this video, the subscribe and the little notifications bell, and you'll get all the videos. Leave a comment. I would love to have your input. Hit that like button and then share it with others so that more people can understand the joy of giving, the discipline of giving, and what God does in our life when we add this discipline on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. May God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.